Okay, in interesting football news, I know it's been the FA Cup third round weekend, and there's been a lot of games and a few shocks, and Cardiff have been knocked out. But on a fan note, on a fan protest note, a Blackpool fan staged a one-man protest on the Arsenal team coach in Preston, outside the Arsenal team hotel. And fair play to him. I understand why he's protesting. I think he's stupid, and of course, there's security issues and safety issues. But with the way the Oystons have run Blackpool over recent years, the fans have had enough, and I'm totally on board with why the Blackpool fans are protesting and boycotting. I completely support them. I support them on my Twitter. I regularly retweet any tweet that comes up in my newsfeed. I will retweet it and spread awareness of what the Oystons have done to Blackpool. And the fact that the Arsenal fans outnumbered the Blackpool fans today in the stadium says a lot about the state of the club. Blackpool sold just over 3,500 tickets. Arsenal sold over 5,000 tickets for the away section, and it just sums up where the club is at and how far the club has fallen from that Premier League season where they got in the Premier League, their one season in the Premier League. The Oystons have asset stripped that club. There's the fit and proper persons test clearly doesn't apply here because it hasn't worked. The training facilities are a shambles. The player morale and the staff morale is just non-existent. Fans have been protesting for quite some time. There's been High Court legal action taken. It's not a happy place at Blackpool. And while the stunt may have garnered a few laughs and gained some attention, it's a serious protest that the Blackpool fans have been organising week in, week out. They've been petitioning the High Court, they've been petitioning the FA, the EFL, and unfortunately the governing bodies of the game are failing clubs like Blackpool. There are clubs up and down the UK that have been failed by the governing bodies of the leagues that they play in, day out. They're revenue chasing. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about how clubs are run. We've seen some very dodgy owners own some football clubs. And as a Blackburn fan, even though I'm not a fan of Blackpool and they are Lancashire rivals of ours, I do feel sympathy for them because we've got the Venkies. I've refused to go to a Blackburn game since the Venkies took over. I used to go to the odd game here or there. Obviously, I live in the south of England. It's hard to get up to Lancashire cheaply and quickly. A train journey could take anywhere from 3 hours to as long as you bloody want. And I've been stuck on a train going up north before for 7.5 hours going on an hour and a half journey. So I understand, the costs behind football are punishing to away fans or even to home fans, because some people who support their clubs don't live right next to the ground. You've got to travel. And the way Blackpool's been run has been a disgrace. The way the EFL and the FA have regularly failed football fans up and down this country, and regularly failed football clubs that are in dire need of help. The system is broken, and I completely understand why this Blackpool fan protested why he did. While I don't agree with the style of protest he's done, because you've got the safety of the players and the Arsenal bus and the safety of the fan himself, I get why he's protesting. I said the same thing about the West Ham fans who protested last season, invaded the pitch and lobbed coins at the Sullivan and Gold. I don't agree with their style of protest, but I understand why they're protesting. So many clubs are mismanaged and badly run, and the amount of money in the game now. How is it that most lower league clubs in the UK are basically broke? And that's not just a UK problem, that's a Europe-wide problem. Most of the lower league clubs across Europe are basically broke. They're on a shoestring, and the amount of money in the game, and we were told when the Champions League was formed, the Premier League, they all these cup competitions, that the money would filter down. It hasn't. The big clubs are clearly abusing the system. And if this Blackpool protest is anything, you look at Charlton, you look at Blackburn, you look at Bolton. I could go through a whole list of clubs that have had various issues over the years. Portsmouth, criminal owners who have made a lot of money out of the clubs and left the clubs in a terrible state. And I could go on and on. Sheffield Wednesday is another recent one that I've done videos on. I mean, there has to be a point where this stops. But from what I've seen from the governing bodies in this country, and across Europe and across the world with FIFA, the corruption is rife in the sport. I'm not naive to think it doesn't happen. It does happen. There's a lack of willingness to reform organisations and how clubs are run. Fans are an afterthought. We're not, our voice isn't being heard, and I'm looking forward to the highlights of Match of the Day this evening. See how many empty seats there are in games today. I haven't looked at all the full results. I want to be a bit surprised when I see the highlights, but if there's a lot of empty seats, that says to me that fans are starting to have enough with the pricing of tickets. We know from the 2015-2016 season with the TV deal that was in place at the time, half the Premier League clubs that season could let us in for free, and the other half they could charge a fiver or a tenner, and still make a massive profit on a ticket. Then they were charging 77 plus quid for an away ticket at Liverpool, for example. Completely unacceptable, completely wrong. And the changing of the FA Cup kickoff times today to suit overseas audience. It's not fair on the fans trying to get to and from a game when British public transport is a mess right now with engineering works and strikes and delays. It's unacceptable that the FA has basically sold the soul of the game. I understand football is a massive business, but there has to be a point where, hang on a second, let's start putting the mainstream customers, us, first. Overseas customers, hey, they're going to still watch it regardless of what time we put on the. If they're that dedicated, they're going to watch whatever time the kickoff is. Just keep them at 3 o'clock. Make it fair and accessible for young and old and away fans. Stop. We've had lunchtime, 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock odd kickoffs. We've had staggered kickoff times today. And there is a chance with the hooligan element, they're going to clash at train stations and at bus stops and on service stations up and down this country. It's a nightmare for the policing. It's all wrong. But there we go. Blackpool fan got arrested for his protest. And fair play to him. I had a good chuckle. While I don't agree with the style of protest he's done, it's a public protest. It's an embarrassing protest for the FA, and the fact that we know Blackpool fans are boycotting games and protesting, and they're being taken for granted. The FA are sitting on their hands doing nothing about the game, the chronic mismanagement, the criminal mismanagement, and there are criminals who own football clubs. It's the way they launder money, and the FA are doing nothing to stop the chronic mismanagement of the game in this country. But that's enough. This is more of a rant video. This is me having got in the FA saying they need to get their act together, and the EFL. They have regularly shown themselves to prove themselves incompetent in the fit and proper persons test. That is just a joke, and has been a joke since it was introduced, because how did the Venkies buy Blackburn? How did the Oystons keep control of Blackpool? Cellini at Leeds when he was in charge. I mean, these are people with criminal convictions buying clubs. Charlton's another case. It's wrong. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your thoughts below. If you are a Blackpool fan, I want to hear your true thoughts on all this, because I feel terribly sorry for you guys. The fans are loyal to a fault, but they're actually one of the few fan groups to say enough is enough. We're staying away. If Newcastle did the same, change would happen at St James's Park a lot quicker, but they're far too loyal. But there we go. That's my view on things. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.